Guys,
Hey.
welcome, welcome, welcome. They're saying, why is this guy grinning all up close to my face? Welcome to Breakfast with the Brookses. I'm Glenn P. Brooks Jr., author, speaker, coach. Cherie is back. We've got some guests, Karen and Taylor. Everybody say what's going on, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Listen, if you guys are just tuning in for the very first time, I want you guys to say hashtag first time. Okay, so put in the chat, hashtag first time. I'm going to get this thing a little bit out of my way so that we can talk. Today, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about the sticky factor. I'm super excited. Before we get into all of that, I want everybody just to chime in and let's talk just a little bit. What's going on? How's everything going? It's good to have you back. You good?
Yes. No sick grandchild this weekend. I was on grand duty last Saturday, so I missed you guys, but looks like we had a great show last week. We had our good friends Eric and Ellison on the show last week. It was a great show.
We did.
But it's good to be back.
Good to be back. Good to be back. Good to be back. So listen, we've invited some guests this week. Karen, you're no stranger to obviously the MAPS community. For everybody that's just tuning in, we're super excited. What I want you guys to do is to tag somebody, particularly if this is your first time. I want you guys to share this out with as many people as you possibly can, because today we're going to be talking about parents. And Karen, you've been in the MAPS community for forever. So Karen always says that she's been rocking with us for 3 years. Let me give y'all a quick backstory. So when we first came to Hampton Roads, Cherie and I, we were looking for a church. Obviously, we wanted to get plugged into a local church. And we visited a few, and we settled on the one that we go to now, Riverbend Church. Thank God for Riverbend. Great group of people. Shout out to Pastor Bobby. And Karen was a member at Riverbend.
Right.
Well, we decided to do a parenting workshop. This was 3 years ago now. And I'm going to tell you, full disclosure, now we're new to the area, so don't nobody knows us. We're promoting this thing. It's all exciting. I'm going hard, y'all, just like I do on everything else that we're doing. And Cherie, 9 people showed up.
Yeah, it was about 9.
I'm keeping it all the way 100. Listen, entrepreneurs, my people who love doing live events, what do you do when you promote an event and just 9 people show up?
You perform like it's 100 in there.
And what do I know is that sometimes there's one
and you still
who was supposed to be there.
Yes.
For a time such as this, and God does something miraculous in their life.
Yep. Exactly.
And that one
is me.
would be Karen. So Karen,
me and my family.
Right. So Karen, talk to us a little bit about, like, from that time to this, where were you? Where are you?
Now remember your daughter's here. She's going to give you a camera.
Right, because absolutely. Taylor's absolutely no question. So talk to us a little bit about that.
So where I was a mom who did a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming, just trying to figure out where I was as a parent. And everything that you were saying when you were standing up there was resonating with me. I was like, I got to deal with them. I got to have them in my life. And I already knew you were going to be in my life because I used to see you on the screen, and God had already showed me that.
So she's talking when she's talking about the screen. So for the few weeks leading up to the parenting conference, this is our local church at this point. We're not even members, I don't think, at that point. But, I talked to Pastor Bobby, and he was like, I think that we need to do this event, and the church is going to get behind it. And I think that our parents need it. Let's push it as much as we can. And again, nobody knows us, but Karen keeps seeing these promos in church leading up to this event. And she was like, nah, I don't know who that dude is.
Right. I just felt like they were going to be in my life forever. It was a feeling.
Yeah.
Like, you guys were going to be in my life. And I was like, why do I feel like they're going to be in my life? They've been in my life forever.
So guys, listen.
Right?
So I'm going to just real quick shout out a couple people. Nick K, good to see you. Shout out to the MAPS community. Sharon Forbes is in the building. Linwood, good to see you, brother. Daniela, Wilma, thank you. All of our regulars. Teresa, Brian, I appreciate you for jumping in the room. Abraham Scully speaks to inspire in the room, in the building. Good morning, sir. Listen, we're going to talk a little bit about something, Cherie, you and I started a couple of weeks back, and I want us to kind of drill down on this. We'll bring Taylor into this conversation, but go ahead.
I just want to back up for any new member, anybody new on YouTube today who may not know who we are.
Oh, yeah. We just jumped in like y'all just know who we are.
we ain't that famous yet.
Nah, not yet.
And so I'm Cherie Brooks Jr., author, speaker, relationship, and life balance coach. And this lovely gentleman sitting beside
Chocolate
me.
dude. Normally,
it's normally the other way around.
Right, Glenn P. Brooks Jr. I'm an author. I'm a speaker. I'm a coach. A couple of years ago, we launched an online relationship academy, and we call it MAPS, Marriages and Parenting Successfully. And the whole premise for MAPS is really to bring people in a group coaching environment so that, guys, they can be in a community of people who are doing the same thing for the same reasons. They're all on the same page, and they're trying to grow their relationships in a very functional and very healthy way. And so we have a separate group coaching room for couples.
Right.
When I say couples, married folks, engaged, maybe you are seriously long-term dating, and you're really trying to go to the next step. And then we have one for parents.
Yes.
Co-parents. Step, whatever you want to call it, biological parents, you name it, foster. If you're a parent of any kind, that room is for you.
Right.
And then now we have a singles room specifically designed for singles who want to get married. And when I say you're single, that means you ain't married.
Right.
Let that breathe. Somebody say, well, I'm separated. Can I be in the group? No.
Because you're married.
Because you're still married. God might do something. So
this is for us.
This is so Karen.
Right, and this is for singles. You may be dating, but if you're not married yet,
yes,
you're still single.
You're technically still single.
So there are things that we'll talk about in that room that are even still relevant to you. And then we also have a separate men's only room where Glenn meets with the men. And I have a ladies only room where I meet with the ladies once a week. And so
if you want to know more information about it, do me a favor. Damon, Marsha, good to see you guys in the room. Somebody put in the chat, www.thecrcoach.com. That's where you can find us, and that's where you can grow with us. And our goal really is to create a relationship between people who really want to do something functional.
Right.
And that goes back to parenting. So Taylor, I know we kind of talked like you weren't in the room. So Taylor is Karen's youngest child, only daughter. I need y'all to hear that. Youngest child and only daughter. So you have
20 kids. No.
20 kids.
About 20. Karen has like 22 children. And she gave birth to every last one of them. And she ain't but this big. I'm still trying to figure out, if you ever meet her sons, they look like the starting front line for, some football team. And I'm trying to tell you, they came from this woman. But this is the baby. This is the baby girl, only
you
girl.
have how many children?
So I have 5 children that I gave birth to, 4 living, and a bonus son.
So, and then
3 grandchildren.
And 3 grandchildren. Please don't forget grandparent love.
Yes,
don't forget it. But Taylor, being the youngest, being the only girl.
What has it been like?
What has it been like? You growing up in a single parent home. Go ahead.
It's funny growing up with brothers for like all your life in one household, and you're the only girl. They just treat you like you're a sibling. They just treated me like one of the guys. I guess.
Right.
That's why I'm not too girly, but I'm not too tomboyish because I'm in between.
Yep.
Like my mom made sure she balanced the girly part for me, but my brothers are always there.
So we're gonna find out some stuff. Too.
Right. Well, guys, listen. I'm excited. The crazy thing is that you guys have come from a place of hardship from the standpoint of doing relationships healthy. And when I say hardship, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And that's the thing I think that most people don't understand. People, we beat ourselves up, guys, routinely for what we don't know.
Right.
And I'm of the opinion that if you don't know, you get a pass until you do know.
Right.
So stop beating yourself up about what you didn't know. If something is not working in your relationship and clearly no one taught you how to do that, I want you to stop beating yourself up for stuff that you don't know. So let's take this back a little bit. Again, we're talking about the sticky factor. And so for those of you guys who think you might know what the sticky factor is, maybe you tuned in last week, maybe you have been riding with us for a minute, put in the chat what you think the sticky factor in relationships is while Karen brings us up to speed. So talk to us a little bit about who you guys were prior to meeting us, and then kind of where you have evolved to at this point.
All right, so where I was with my boys more so was the mom who was just trying to do the best that she could do. So I was very aggressive, loving but very aggressive, but not a good communicator, not a good listener.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So that was a big problem, and I heard it a lot, but I heard it more from the younger son. And then now I'm hearing it, from Taylor. I'm better.
Yep.
But I didn't listen. I didn't know. I didn't have the skills to listen.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was, especially in my youngest son, a lot of it started coming out because I met you guys. But I learned that I was all in their lane, in his relationships lane, even in the oldest. But I just didn't know. I thought that I was doing the best that I could do as a parent, as a single parent, and just still loving him, being strong. But I thought telling him what was wrong, that was another thing you showed me. Like, you told me what makes me think that everybody want to hear their faults.
Wow.
That stuck out a lot for me.
Wow.
And it's like, what makes me think that my son wanted to hear everything that was negative?
Right.
Karen, you said something to Sheree. I need you to jump into this because this is real, y'all.
It's real.
Oftentimes, and you got to understand that Karen is talking about now a grown man.
Right.
He's not a little boy.
Right.
He doesn't live in her home, but she raised her boys. As she says, she was aggressive as she raised them because, quite frankly, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, Karen raised her kids out of fear.
Right.
Out of fear of what would happen if. And I think you are not alone. I did it. Sheree did it, particularly during your single parenting years. We have this propensity towards fearing the worst. And we live like that. And so we will parent our kids oftentimes. We will be in relationships with people and we start working with them based on what we don't want to happen.
Right. I think that what we do as parents is that we have this, because of our own experiences, things that we may have gone through, we're so fearful that they're going to experience it that we put up these blocks that now we're trying to control every aspect of their life.
Yeah.
And so that fear drives us. It drives us to now prevent them from falling. Basically, you have the child that's, the 2-year-old, you're scared to let them run because if they're going to fall.
God
Number
forbid.
one, if they fall, they're not going to die. And I think the
At
reality
least not
is,
from the floor.
right. And I think we have to be honest with ourselves that, in order to grow in any area, failure is a part of that process.
Yeah.
And so you have to allow them room to fail. You have to allow them room to fall.
Yeah.
Or they'll never learn how to get back up.
Yeah.
And so, but as parents, we want to safeguard them. We want to protect them. We want to basically bubble wrap them from life and not let anything happen. But that's
Taylor's
not healthy.
laughing.
That's not healthy for them because they don't learn how to survive. It prevents them from learning how to think critically for themselves. When we control everything, but that's all comes from fear. It comes from our place of fear and us telling ourselves, it's like you'll watch something on TV. Like I remember when my daughter was young, it was during a time when they were snatching those girls in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
So I had this big fear that if she went to the mall, if a person looked at her, I'm like, somebody's going to snatch her.
I have this fear right now with her.
Right.
And I had to realize, yes, the world is a big, scary place, but I have to have faith. I have to have trust. And I have to realize that I've prepared her to be vigilant as much as she can. And also it's just having faith and just believing that she's going to be okay. I can't protect her from everything.
Right.
And we, that turns into controlling.
Yeah. And I want to talk about, I want to talk about that at some point. So I just want to go to the chat really quickly. What's up, Maya? Good to see you. Good to see you jumping in the room. Y'all do me a favor. Share this out. Tag somebody. If you are on live, do me a huge favor. And if this is your first time, please subscribe to the channel because we do this every single week. Taylor, one of the things that I think I want you to kind of chime in on is, and before I have you do that, I want to go ahead and say, and many of you guys have already put this on the chat, so the sticky factor in any relationship, bar none, whether it's parenting, whether it's couples, whether it's married,
the 3 C's.
Even in, it is the 3 C's, even in your relationship with your boss, with your colleagues, if you are an employer with the people that work for you, it's the 3 C's. Number 1, it's communication. Number 2,
communication.
And number 3,
communication.
That's it.
Right.
That in of itself is the sticky factor. What I will say up front, and Taylor, you're learning this, communication is actually a skill set. It's something that if you're good at it, things go really well. But if you're not good at it, things don't go so well. And the good news is you can get better at it. And I've watched you over the last 3 years get to the place to where you are finding your voice. Right. Like you are having no problem sitting up and saying what it is, how you feel. Cherie talked about control. So we're going to talk about a scenario that you and your mom recently went through. And we're going to talk about how things went right, what went wrong, and how we could do it better. And so if you guys want to ride with us, let me put a 1 in the chat if you want to ride. We're going to do a live coaching session right now around this idea of the sticky factor. So Taylor, when your mom is communicating well with you, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel good.
You got to talk up a little bit into the mic, man.
It makes me feel good. It feels like I'm being heard, and then both of us are being heard. So when the conversation goes well without any arguing, it's a win-win for both of us. And both of us aren't mad at the end of the conversation. Yeah.
Even if the conversation is not about good stuff. So let's talk a little bit about it. Let's role play, unless this is not even made up. So we're going to go back to the real deal. Marsha, are you ready? Leander says 1. Okay. Wow, look at this. Joe McDaniel, we got a whole bunch of 1s in this chat. They like, oh yeah, man, it's about to be on. So I want you guys to see what it looks like when we coach people personally, how coaching goes really even in our group coaching environments to some degree. But we talk about it. We got a couple of rules. When one person's talking, the other person is not allowed to be talking because you can't talk and listen simultaneously.
Right, can't interrupt.
And if you do have something you need to say, you need to jot that down real quick, not a book, because if you're writing down too much, you're disengaging from the conversation. So I just need you to write a little note. I want to come back to that. And the idea is to listen for understanding, not to respond. And that's very difficult. And so when it comes to building your communication, that's what needs to happen. So let's go back to a couple of nights ago. Give us a scenario, what happened, and it's get ready, get real.
Okay, who wants to share? You want to share? Okay, you share.
I'll start off how I thought it started off.
Right.
So I came home all excited about dinner. I had been looking at stuff on YouTube about how to just change the way we're eating, get back on the norm.
Yep.
So I was telling Taylor, like, let's have a salad. And I was saying to her, like, come sit here, come sit next to me, we can watch this on YouTube. And that's what she did, And I'm like, I don't want a salad. I'll have a salad, I'll do my call or whatever. You go fix a salad. I'm all excited. She's in the kitchen. I'm at the table. So I'm saying, so what are the things that we have for the salad? I know I said this. I said, Taylor, what are the things that we have for the salad? Do we have tomatoes? Yeah, we have 1 or 2. Okay, do we have this? Do we have that? And then I told her to look at the bottom. I said, so pull these things out. She swears I didn't tell her to pull these things out. All right, so I understood later the next day where I could have done things a little different, but I'm just telling you how it was. So I know she agreed. I felt like she heard me say, these are the things that we're going to do. And I said, fix the salad. You fix the salad. We'll try to do it together. And then once the call starts, I'm on the call and you finish up the salad. So it started from there. And then after the call, we I'm like, you don't even listen. I feel like she's choosing right now not to listen to me. It's like she's ignoring me. Okay. And this is how I feel like. If she doesn't want to do it, she ignores me.
Okay.
And because she went in her room, and I'm thinking she just went in her room because of the call, but the salad was done. I did say, chop up the romaine, put it in the bowl. She did that part, but I said, and I heard her, okay, yeah, we have that, but
got it.
Okay,
she didn't get it done.
So what did you hear? Give us your take, Taylor.
I want y'all to hear the exact.
What did you hear?
Stuff that's going on here. Right. Listen to what Cherie just said.
What did you hear?
She asked me to look for the different ingredients in the kitchen. And while she was like naming the vegetables, I was looking in the refrigerator. I didn't hear her say that part. I remember her saying chop up the lettuce and put it in the bowl. And then she said take out the tomatoes. And I was like, okay. And then I took those stuff out. But then she said usually when she goes on call, I go in the room and I just go do my homework.
Right.
And so she said,
now this call, this was a coaching. Was this a?
This was
a group. This was a MAPS call.
This was our singles.
This was a singles room, so it was Thursday night.
Okay.
Got it. Go ahead.
And so I didn't want to finish that in the kitchen and then move around in the back while because that's usually what I do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I'll just finish it after your call's over, and I'll go do my homework in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And then she just went on her call, and then she got mad at me after the call was over.
It was a lot more to it.
I'm listening.
We're letting her tell us her side of the story. Go ahead.
In there.
Okay, so once you went in your room, then what happened after that, after the call?
I came out, and then she was asking me why I didn't finish the salad. I said I did say that I would do my homework and then finish after the call. And then she thought that I didn't want to do it because I didn't want a salad.
Okay.
So she started getting mad about that. And I was like, okay. And then she started going off topic. Oh, no. She started saying that. She started getting mad because she kept saying that I didn't want to do anything in the house. And then.
So we went from the salad to now she don't want to do nothing in the house.
And then she moved to my grades.
Okay.
And then she moved to my grades. And then made me.
But how your grades come? What your grades got to do?
So,
I don't know.
So
she made me pull up my grades.
So let me just stop really quickly, guys, and
it's true.
Let me just I just need y'all to hear really quickly.
It's true.
I want to just backtrack for a quick second. So the conversation went from prepare the salad. You heard her say some things, and there were some things that you willingly said. I didn't hear her say those things, and so based upon what you thought you heard, you began executing on what you thought you heard, right? So it goes from there to now when it wasn't right, your mom spoke to that and it was like, well, I'm thinking that this is probably because you don't want a salad. And then before you know it, you go from not doing the salad right. The conversation then escalates a little bit.
You don't do anything around the house.
Not do anything around the house. And then your grades. And then it just keeps going. You said something that was critical. And parents, hear me clearly. This is not a throw Karen under the bus session.
No, it's not.
This is a identify what was said session.
Right.
So that we can identify what we need to say session.
Right.
I need y'all to hear this.
Right.
So really quickly, Taylor said, I noticed that you began to go off topic. That's what you started to say just a few moments ago. Huh?
She's been around y'all too.
Look. And you kind of whispered that out. You almost didn't get. I heard that.
Oh yeah.
I need to put a pin in that. And the reason why is, let's just put a pause for a quick second. Parents, listen to me very carefully. Your children know when you go off topic.
Right.
Your children know when you begin to go into areas that this present conversation has nothing to do with.
And I want to backtrack real quick.
Okay, I just wanted to make that point.
Right. I want to go back to mindset. Okay, so Karen, even when you were telling the story, you made the comment, I believe she didn't do it because she didn't want a salad. Mm-hmm. This goes back to our thinking. Right. We tell ourselves things and we believe them, not knowing whether it's true. Whether she wanted a salad or not, I want to ask you a question. So does Taylor have a habit of, she may not agree with something, but her just being disobedient because she doesn't want to do it? Does she have a habit of that? Does she, just because she doesn't feel like doing something, that she doesn't do it?
No, it wasn't like that. I feel like it's starting.
Okay, but
no, that's not
up until that point. Is that her? Is that her norm?
Is that her norm? Okay, so but you are telling yourself that she don't feel like doing it, so she didn't do it because of that. And so that's a thought process that's a thought that you had.
That's a thought I had.
That's not something that she's demonstrated in the past. That's not her norm. She doesn't just belligerently disobey you based on how she feels. So where did that thought come from?
It was crazy because I sat there only because we've been doing the work. Mm-hmm. Like before, when it was me raising the guys, it would have been worse than what it was. Right. Mm-hmm. Off the chain.
Right.
But I sat there after I was doing it and saying it. I was just like saying, "You're just crazy." Like I knew, like it just didn't sound right anymore. You know how they say once you get saved, you give your life to Christ, and then you start. You feel these things to change. So I knew it was wrong, but that night I couldn't stop it, and it did. I sat there. It went into everything. It was just like, oh, I was mad. I'm mad now.
I get you.
For real. Like I feel like I got heat.
No, I get it.
So it's something that wasn't resolved.
I'm glad you said that, Karen. And for the sake of time, guys, so that you guys know, Karen is used to doing the work that it takes to get from where she is to where she needs to be.
Right.
She knows the steps. She knows the strategy. She knows how to navigate through this process. But for your benefit, and for those of you guys who are watching who may not understand what this process looks like, in order for you to develop your communication skills, you're going to have to develop the components that make communication up.
Right.
And so one of the things that we teach and we train in our MAPS community is on those individual skill sets. Let me just give you a quick example. So if you are a baker, right, and you are trying to assemble the ingredients necessary to bake a cake, you have to have the resources to be able to pull that off properly. That starts with the ingredients, but it also has everything to do with things that have nothing to do with what's going into the cake. Hear me clearly, guys. The cake itself has ingredients, but there are things that you need in order to bring those ingredients not only together, but together properly. So if I use one thing as an example, generally speaking, in making a cake, even from scratch, there's going to be some mixing involved. Right. There's going to be some kind of mixing bowl, some kind of agitation. There's something that's going to bring each individual ingredient together. And if you are trying to make a cake without the mixer,
right, without the equipment,
without the equipment, the problem is that you probably could get the batter in and made up. Let's take the mixer out. So instead of the mixer, you're using your hand, or you're using your hands and that sort of stuff. So you get the dough put together, you get everything in it. I guarantee you that cake is going to be really dry in some places. It's going to have no taste in other places. It's going to stick in some places it's not. You're going to have what I would call inconsistency in the cake or the texture of it. Here's the problem. In communication, most people do not validate the components that it takes to make it up. One of the biggest components of communication is actually not the talking part.
Right.
It's the listening part. And quite honestly, I don't think it's an accident that most of us don't do the listening part well, not organically. There are many people who are natural listeners and they're good at it. But in most cases, that's not the case, particularly the older you get. And the reason why is because it's influenced by other things. So I just wanted to just take a quick note and aside just to help you guys understand that Karen has done the work. So now I hear you saying things like, I feel my heat now. I felt it then, but I couldn't stop. Right. And I'm going to talk a little bit about where that heat comes from and why it's hard to turn it off. Okay. Taylor, when your mom started getting off topic, when she started making this about everything else after the salad, it was the salad, then it was the house. And in that moment, real talk, you're not going to get judged. You're certainly not going to get, ain't nobody screaming down on you. What did you feel? What was going through your mind at that time?
I didn't feel confused until she got to my grades.
Say it one more time.
I didn't get confused until she got to my grades. The house part, I kind of understood why she got to that point, but when it got to my grades, I got confused. And then I was like, well, I don't understand. And then when she starts going more into her talking wise, I don't say anything because I don't want to it's like a fire kind of thing. I don't want to feel it.
Yep.
So I don't really say anything.
Yep.
And then she's like, well, I'm talking to you. And then I have to say something. And then I don't want to communicate because then it's just going to turn into this big argument.
Yep.
And I know other things are going to come in. And usually I just don't want to talk about it. So I got confused because I was like, we were just talking about a salad. I don't understand. But this happened before, so I kind of got confused. Yeah. The last time this happened, it was about the driving. And then you went to Instagram in my phone, and then you took it away. And I was confused then because I don't know where that came from. And then she brought the phone in again.
Okay.
In this last conversation,
right?
Did I?
Yeah.
How did I bring the phone in?
You're like, you're always on the phone. It's always Instagram. You're always in your room. But the one thing was, I did communicate to her at one point. Was she was yelling at me about that all I do is sleep, or I'm on my phone in the room, or when she gets home, I never have anything done. But I told her, I said, well, when you're not home, I'm home. No one else sees what I do when I'm home. I come home and I do my homework, and then I eat. And then by the time I'm all finished with that, I'm tired and I want to go to sleep. So I'm on my phone. So then I go to sleep after that. And by the time all that's done, she's home. So all she sees when she gets home is me asleep. But I already have everything done.
Wow.
Okay.
So sometimes she doesn't see what I do when I'm home. I don't see what she does when she's at work. So I don't see, all I see when she gets home is she's tired.
Gotta just give a slap.
That's okay.
Guys,
this is good.
This is good.
This is good.
Taylor,
I wanted to ask
go ahead.
Taylor, so when she comes at you like that, when she starts going down, bringing up all this, how does that make you feel?
Confused.
Okay, other than confused, does it make you feel any other way?
A little mad sometimes.
Okay.
You can be honest.
A little mad because she gets off topic, and then we're not on the same topic anymore. So then I get confused and I get mad, and then she brings up other stuff that gets me mad. So I'm just like, oh. And then we get into this big argument.
It went from the food to the. I'll be real. I heard myself. It did sound crazy, but I couldn't stop it, and I sort of like reverted back to who I used to be.
Yeah.
So it went from the food. It went to the what you're not doing in the house, and then she went off. You know, for her, she doesn't go off, and for her, you're always like, Taylor, pick up this, Taylor, pick up that. You know, when you come in the house. So I said to her, like, so what are you gonna do?
Yep.
So that I don't have to say it. Like, she's about to be 18. I don't want to say it.
Got it.
So what I want to know, like today, like what is her part?
Yeah.
Like, why do I have to keep saying it? Like, when is she gonna get it?
Got it.
Okay, let's back up for a second. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning of the conversation because we're talking about communication. Communication is the sticky factor. So Karen, in that instance at the beginning, when you come home about the salad, how could you have communicated that better to let her know specifically what it is that in your mind, what you wanted her to do? How could you have communicated that better?
Well, when I thought about it later, you know, I was excited. So I told her, sit down, let's do this. I could have went in the kitchen with her instead of sitting at the table.
Put that in the chat, guys. I want y'all to put in the chat. These are the things that Karen could have done because we don't have the ability right now. I don't want to get distracted. I want y'all to put this in the chat.
Right.
Number one, she said she could have.
I could have gone in the kitchen with Taylor.
Okay.
I could have checked since I was so excited about it, what I thought about later is I could have went and made sure that we had those things. And honestly, because she didn't say it, I did tell her we were going to try to make it to the store because some things we were missing and that we were going to try to make it to the store before the call. But we didn't make it to the store. I just wanted her to pull out what we had. But really, I should have said, so what did you hear me say, Taylor?
Okay.
First of all, that's something big that I learned before, right? What did you hear me say? I didn't say that to her.
Okay, I want to back up a little bit further. Okay, 'cause I want you to be able to visualize. So you come in the house, you're excited. What is Taylor doing when you come in the house?
She was in her room, right? Or were you out that time?
Yeah.
She was around me because we were in the same room actually that day because I said, I want to show you something on YouTube.
Okay, right. But I want you to back up.
Said what, Taylor?
I think she had me open the door. That's why we were in the living room together.
Okay. So you come in the house. She's in her space mentally, physically.
Oh, yeah. So,
you come in on 10.
Yeah.
Because you're excited about something. She's chilling.
For
She's
good
doing
reasons,
whatever,
you're
which is
excited.
good. Which is good. Yeah. But then you come in, and I want you to just hear this, and this is not, you said this is not an attack. But you come in, you're excited about something, and you come in with all this energy. I need you to do this. I want you to come do this. Do you pause for a moment and say, Taylor, do you have a minute?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
And
so
you're right.
So just because you have to remember, she's not 5.
Right. And we wanted them to do it with us.
Right.
But I didn't do it with her.
I want us to stop right there for a quick second for the sake of time again. This is something that what we would do, guys, is continue to go back and forth and dissect and sort of put pauses on things because what we're trying to do is to get you guys to see what happened. Now it's after the fact, but if you do this drill enough, eventually you'll begin to see stuff before it happens. It goes from seeing it after the fact. That's called hindsight. It's 20/20 vision. Then you begin to see it during the fact, which means you're present. And then when you're really good, you will you will be able to go in your mind and see how this is going to play out if you do certain things or if you don't do certain things. And the reason why we have watched these guys grow exponentially is because now when Karen chooses to do the work in the moment, this doesn't happen.
Right.
This is something that used to happen regularly.
Right.
Like especially with her boys.
Right.
Grown boys out the house. She would go through these things, but now she's learning how to slow down, just like what Cherie said, understand and respect the fact that when I come in, and that's a very difficult thing. I want to speak to this just a little bit. Taylor is 17, about to be 18. Here's the challenge. Karen, how old is your oldest son?
32.
So Karen has, her oldest son is 32. Her youngest is almost 18. Y'all see the disparity, right? Here's the difference. The way you talked to your 32-year-old when he was 17 was completely different than the way you talk to this 17-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
Am I right?
Right.
So now what you have to remember, guys, because all of those dynamics are in play, you have to remember who you're dealing with and in the time in which you're dealing.
Right.
So she is a different 17-year-old than your sons were when each of them were at 17. But the same is true of you. You're a different mom than you were then. So here's the challenge. The challenge is becoming self-aware enough to know what's happening in real time and be able to do something about it. So when we go back to the question, well, what do I do? How do I get to the place where, and I heard you loud and clear, where Taylor begins to take on the responsibility that she owns or she should own, and then I don't have to do, quote, my job and her job. Does that make sense? So here's one of the things, and we talk about this all the time, there has to be a boundary. Boundaries, by nature, are property lines. They really kind of show where you start and I stop. In this case, emotionally. In this case, relationally. It's not a physical line. There is a responsibility that Taylor should take on, even at 17, that actually looks like something. The challenge is that the boundary that is set there is either A, not clearly defined for her, B, not properly managed, or C, it's something that she just flat out don't understand or agree with that should be there. So when she talks about the fact that, well, I get confused. Confusion comes in when there's no clarity. When there is a clear boundary, there's always clarity. Always. I'm clear on where this property, if I look out this house, I'm looking right now to the back of the backyard. The way we're sitting in this home is that there are doors that go right through, and we can see right now in the backyard. I'm very clear on the boundary of the neighbor's house across the back.
Where the boundary?
You know, why am I clear on it? Y'all take a look.
You can see it.
What am I looking at?
What do you see that shows you the boundary?
A fence.
A fence. Stop right there. A fence, a house. It shows you where their property starts and mine ends. Here's the problem in relationships.
There's no.
If Taylor can't see that fence, she's not clear. And so a fence emotionally is, let me show you, and it goes right back to what Cherie says. When I get home, here is what I'm thinking about. Thinking we're going to go ahead and get a salad, Do me a huge favor. I'm going to text you a list. I need you to look in the refrigerator to see if we have these things. And then let me know what we have and what we don't. This is at noon, at lunchtime, before you ever get home. This is right or whatever. She may be in school, but she'll get the text when she gets out of school. When you get in the house.
I want to speak there because I see. And so if you had this thought on your way home, you just had the thought on your way home. That's your thought. That's your plan.
That's your
not
boundary.
Fair for you now to put that on her.
That's true.
And I want to speak because Nikkei made a comment about that. Don't make your excitement and plans my problem. So if it's her responsibility, let's say if part of her responsibility is that she helps prepare dinner, you have to give her notice in advance what I want for dinner before.
You're right.
You can't walk in the door and then do that. And so this has to do with planning.
Yes.
You guys planning. And also for you, Taylor, as far as like if you have responsibilities around the house, Karen, if your expectation is that she has that done when you get home, that needs to be clear. So Taylor, you have to know if she expects you to have cleaned the bathroom, to do everything before she gets home from work, If that's the expectation, then you have to have it done before she gets home from work. But if that hasn't been clear, if it's just you need to clean the bathroom every day, you can't then come home and fuss if it's not done because the day's not over.
The day's not over. Does that make sense?
Ooh. So you have to define what does the day mean? What does that mean? Before I get home, it needs to be done.
What time
has that been? Is there a time, or have you told her every day you need to clean the bathroom? Because if every day you have to clean the bathroom, she has until she goes to bed at night to get it done.
Haven't I said to you like before I get home? Like, are you clear? Let me ask. Are you clear what I want?
When it comes to, I had an example in my head. Like when it comes to the kitchen, you'll be like, if you call me when I'm home, all over the place with the kitchen. You say, I need the dishes to be done before I get home. Right. I'll do the dishes, but then you come home and you're like, my kitchen is dirty. Taylor,
but it's clean the kitchen, like it's just crazy to me.
She said do the dishes.
That's exactly what you said.
So as you say that, so as a parent, like. I'm just going to straight up say.
Yeah, okay.
When I say do the dishes, I mean clean the
kitchen.
But that's not what I understand. Right. But I just want to say for all parents, y'all feel me? And I might not be right.
No, I get it.
But they understand.
No, I get
they
it.
want to be real and honest, but I understand that's wrong.
No, we understand. You understand that's what that means. She doesn't understand that's what that means.
So
because
from now on, when I say...
No,
so what do you want me to say?
Clean the kitchen.
You have to say clean the kitchen.
And that
includes doing the dishes, right? Like, if you say do the dishes, like if you tell me to do, like if I'll tell Glenn, for me, like when I come home from work, I need the sink clean for me to cook. There are no dishes in the sink. Now there may be other things going on in the kitchen, but I didn't ask for that. I asked specifically that the sink is clean or that it's no pots on the stove. I'll ask for a specific thing. If I want the kitchen, because to me the kitchen clean means that the floor has been mopped. The cabinet's been wiped down. I'm not asking him to do all of that every day.
Right. Okay.
And the thing you have to realize, because if you see that there's a pattern, she's not doing it, it's because there's no clarity.
You're right.
She's not understanding what your expectation is.
That is exactly.
I will admit, I'm all over the place with the kitchen. I'm all over the place with a lot of stuff. And the reason why it's better right now is because I'm working through it and I'm learning. And so, I knew even when I was saying those things to her, I knew that was just as crazy as can be. And I was going to have to come back. But can I say what we did yesterday?
Yes. Okay. And I want to go to something in the chat.
I gave her what she wanted. And we both did. It was so funny. We've been around you guys and we are doing the work.
Yep.
And when I walked in the house yesterday, I was like, hey, Taylor. And she's like, hi, Mom. And I didn't think she was fake. And she came up because I want a hug sometime too.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And so she gave me a hug. She gave me a kiss. And then, it was good. And we actually went back. See, here's the thing. We went back to our groove. But now I know, I was so excited when you talked about it, of us, you're doing the coaching because, so I hear you guys now. Right?
Yeah.
So I know I got to do some things differently.
And they're really very minor tweaks.
Just being more specific.
Just being much more specific. Let me give you a biological reason why that's needed. Parents, please lean in. I need all y'all to lean into your devices. Put your coffee down. Put your donuts down. Put that second pancake
Put the bacon down.
Put it down.
Because I don't have none.
Because we mad. We're a little hangry and we feel. And I want y'all to understand this. Biologically speaking, many times parents are struggling with this notion of, well, they know what I mean. Why don't they just execute on what they know that I mean? From a biological standpoint, you have to understand that the brain of a 17-year-old has not developed the things that it takes within the brain in order for them to reason the way we do.
Right.
It's a physiological fact that their frontal lobes, that the different things, it's not full, and it doesn't get fully developed until right around their early 20s.
Between 21 and 25.
And that's why a lot of times when they show you flashes in the pan of responsibility, they can do this, it establishes an expectation for the parent that they know this and can execute on this consistently at will because it's a part of who they are. It's not. It is what they did in that moment. And if you're not careful, you'll measure that moment and say, well, I know you know because last week you did it. And what you have to understand, it just happened as a moment in time.
I thought it was only for when they're like little 5 and 6
No.
and 7 and 8
No,
years
ma'am.
old.
No, their brain
No, ma'am.
doesn't
So
develop
literally,
in their
even
20s.
as teenagers, we're having levels of expectation for them to reason a certain way that, quite frankly, isn't developed physically yet.
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean that they can't learn. It doesn't mean that they can't begin to. But the challenge is when we have that expectation that that's what they should execute on a regular basis, we'll set ourselves up, and thus those kinds of arguments. And so,
right, and actually the skills that we're talking about, this being able to be specific in your request, that's something in every relationship.
Yeah.
That's not just with your children.
Correct.
You need to be when you have an expectation, you have to be specific so that person knows clearly what it is that you're expecting. And oftentimes we do that, especially with our kids, is, well, you know what I mean. You know, if I ask you, I remember with my son, I'd be like, go clean the bathroom. Now, when he was young, it was about him learning the responsibility of doing it.
Yep.
So he didn't clean the bathroom the way that I wanted him to clean the bathroom. But that was me allowing him to build responsibility. So I had to be like, okay, whatever he did, as long as he did it, that was okay.
Yep.
And that also has to go to our controlling sometimes, that we want things done the way that we do it.
Got it.
Because, my way is the right way because I'm right. But in your case, that's not the issue with you guys. I think it's just an issue of you being very clear so that Taylor understands what it is that you expect. Because, like I said, if you're telling her, in her mind, from me hearing her saying,
Yeah,
you don't see what I do before you get home,
Yep.
and you come home and you're fussing about these things. I don't think that Taylor is belligerent at all. I don't see her as being rebellious.
Yeah.
I think in her mind, she's saying, okay, if you're saying for me to do this stuff, I'm going to do it before I go to bed.
right.
You didn't say have it done
And
by 3 o'clock
and
or by 5 o'clock. And I think if you set those specific
hard
things so
line.
that she knows these are the 3 things that should be done before I get home from work.
So let's do this.
She could have that done.
Let's do this. It's 8:46, and I'm
we
I'm
should
jumping.
always have like an hour.
Yeah, right. Well, we have a master class we have to teach at 9 o'clock, so y'all gotta go. And the truth is, you got a patient to see.
Yeah, all right.
So here's the deal, really quickly, guys. I don't know, and I'm putting you on the spot, but if you guys can come back next week,
Yeah, I think we should.
I want to finish this
so we can work
conversation.
this solution.
And the reason why is I'm going to bring my flip chart, and we're going to actually work through what it might look like to create hardline boundaries. I want to go to the chat really quickly before we roll out. Next week, we're going to deal with, and something that Damon and Marsha said, we have a chart, and these kids still don't do it. We're going to talk about that next week.
How do you?
We're going to talk about that next week. There is a way to get these kids to do what needs to be done, and at least understand what needs to be done, and we're going to do that. Joe said something that I thought that was particularly important. There's a difference between a boundary and then a clear boundary. I'll give you an example.
Right.
Whether that fence is there or not, there is a property line.
Right.
However, if the fence is not there, it's not
not
easily seen. Mm-hmm. But if I'm going to purchase this property, and by the way, shout out to Custom Homes of Virginia.
Beautiful.
This model home is purchasable if you want to go click the link and let them know you're interested. But there is a county document down at the county courthouse that will show me the boundaries around this property. Mm-hmm. I need to know that if I'm going to purchase it. When you are purchasing in relationship, what that means is you're buying in. Mm-hmm. So because this is your daughter, you want to buy into her. Mm-hmm. Because this is your mom, you want y'all to be bought in. Things go much better when y'all are flowing.
Right.
That's called being bought in. Well, if I know where the boundaries are, it's not, Cherie doesn't have any problems cooking dinner when she comes home. Because almost 100% of the time, almost, in the high 90 percentile, that sink is clean as a whistle when she comes home.
Right.
And the reason why is she's made it abundantly clear that this is what I need. And for y'all to understand this, it does something for her psychologically.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the dishes.
Right.
It psychologically, she feels like she wants to cook. Well, because your man like to eat. I like when she cooks. So I'm going, it is advantageous for me to give her what she wants.
Right.
Does that make sense? So next week, guys, if y'all can join us and we can get Karen and Taylor to come back, there's so many great comments. Can y'all do me a huge favor? Can y'all tag someone? Can you guys share this with someone? Can you go on YouTube if you're if you're on YouTube right now, listen to us live, do me a favor, subscribe. If you're on YouTube by replay, do me a favor, subscribe. if you're seeing this by way of Facebook because we've repurposed it or whatever, tag somebody, share this out, let them know that there is a solution. Y'all do not have to struggle. We're talking about the sticky factor in parenting relationships. We've talked about it for marriages the last 2 episodes. The next 2 episodes, we're going to go from not only what is going on, but we're going to go solution. Right. So remind me, babe, I'm going to bring my flip chart. We're going to go through some specific things. Right. I'm going to talk to you guys about how to establish a healthy boundary, how to make it stick, how to be able to help your children develop a level of responsibility. And parents, I'm going to tell you something right now. You may not like me next week. I'm just telling you right now.
But
you may not like me next week.
It all starts with communicating clearly with our children.
Yeah.
You have to. We as parents have to stop assuming they know what we mean.
Absolutely.
We have to make sure that we're clear, that they understand, and that causes you to have a conversation. You can't just bark at your children, I need you to do this, and expect them to do it without explaining to them exactly what it is that you want.
How many times you done called the kids?
We just have to slow down as parents. Sometimes we have to slow down.
How many times you done called Taylor, but you said, Jamel,
right.
She is a girl.
Right.
Let's just start there. She's not any of her brothers, but I'm sure you've gotten called one of your brothers' names.
She calls me Jamel sometimes.
On a regular, like, come in. And then when you say, but I'm not, and then what will she say?
You know who you are.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying, guys?
Right.
This ain't new. We all do this.
I do it with my grandkids
But the
all
challenge is that what I want you guys to be very well aware of, and we're getting out of here, is that comes with, there's a cost to doing business that way.
Right.
If I put this in a business term, you can do it any way you want. There's always a cost to doing business.
Right.
And the question you have to ask is that something you want to pay? Yes. Is that a cost you're okay with? Because if you are, keep paying it. By all means, I'm not judging. Some people like arguing. I had a lady in our workshop one time told me, I know fussing doesn't work.
But I enjoy it.
Like, and I'm like, okay. I ain't messing with you. Yeah, you clearly don't want me to coach you because that's crazy talk to me. But that's the cost of doing business for her and her family. And she likes it, and she's willing to pay that cost.
Right. I want to
guys,
thank Karen and
want to appreciate y'all for coming.
You know what's so crazy is that I've been around you guys for 3 years, and every time we do something, I'm still learning. Like, even for the parents that's doing the work, we're gonna go back sometimes and revert back.
They're human.
But we could catch ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I learned, and we'll do it.
Yep.
And Taylor, the great thing is that, like you said, because you've been doing this work, 3 years ago, you wouldn't even had this conversation.
Right. No, it'll be bad. I would have just the whole time screaming and all, not stepping back.
Right.
So the fact that you're willing to be transparent, you guys had the conversation even after, and y'all came to some resolution. The fact that you were willing to do that shows growth.
Absolutely.
And so parents, don't beat yourself up like Glenn said. You know, we do what we know to do. Yep. So as you learn more,
and you know better,
you do better. And so this is us just being able to help you guys and help you guys to know a little better.
Yep.
To do a little better.
Yep.
And
we're good.
It's all about communication.
We're going to talk about fear next week.
Yes.
We're going to talk about parenting out of fear and how to get outside of that spectrum. And just remind me, guys, because I'm not writing any of these things that's coming off the top of my head.
March might be Karen and Taylor.
Well, but I don't. She's 17. She likes her Saturday mornings. So
she says
you good?
I wasn't happy about waking up early, but it's okay. I already woke up at 5 on accident.
All right, on accident.
We got her on tape, guys.
Yep. All right, guys. Listen. At the end of the day, guys, y'all already know what it is. We all need some help. Do me a favor. Have a great Saturday, guys. Bye. My clicker ain't working right. We're trying to turn this off. But guys, listen. Do me a quick favor. I'm gonna go ahead and get up and do it here. Listen. Do me a favor. Y'all make sure y'all tune in. All right.
Bye, guys.